says we're streaming something. Yeah, there we are. So we now have an updated live stream. So are we ready to start?
All right.
Okay. This is the Android Buffet Podcast, episode number 545, recorded Thursday, July 1st, 2021. In 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1.
Dum, dum, dum.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Android Buffet Podcast.
Woohoo!
Yeah, now, last week I got a letter. And it prompted me to spend money.
Oh, wow. Those are the best letters.
Not always. Okay, so this letter came from one of our biggest fans. This was from Daryl.
Oh, we love Daryl.
Yes. So Daryl's advice was, get rid of all the boards. All it does is complicate the broadcast and absolutely crap sound quality. You don't need 10 boards with... I'm cutting out some words here, Daryl, as he knows from how he wrote it. With gates aplenty and tons of filters. Now, I didn't have any of those things, neither did you, Jerry. The problem appeared to be with the hardware I was using for streaming. And that was the hardware that appeared to be causing the squeal in the audio, so I replaced the streaming board. Which is probably a good thing, because the streaming board I was using, I bought it and then a few weeks later they discontinued it, so they're not updating it anymore. So I now have a new encoder. Now this one, instead of... the old one was Android-based, and this new one, the interface is web-based. So I have my computer managing the stream, but the actual stream encoding is being done by this new H.264 encoder that I added in.
Ooh, H.264
Yes.
for audio only. That's...
Well, remember...
Oh, wait, no, we do video too, don't we?
Well, the video... So far, the video has really only been the few times I've shown a wall. And the actual stream of the show notes. And the sites that we're talking about. So, it hasn't been that exciting. Now, the other thing I did was I switched microphones. So, I have a few other things I'm going to try over the next few weeks. I have some more cabling coming. But I did go eliminate some things from the setup that were causing trouble, namely the whole streaming box that was annoying me. So there is a stream. I don't know if anybody's watching live tonight, but hopefully. Now, for those of you who are listening to the recording, hopefully that's also improved, because, again, I changed out the microphone for one that should produce less background noise.
Really?
Yeah. Why, do you hear
You
something?
sound fine to me.
Yeah, but there were comments about the background noise, so I went from a condenser microphone, which was an old one that I left here, because remember, this is my secondary location. I went
Yes.
to a slightly better dynamic microphone.
So were you squeezed up on that microphone?
No, setting a respectful distance, but well, no, dynamic does work a bit differently, but this is phantom power, and everything's working nicely. And you hear me a little differently because this is a dual XLR USB microphone. The XLR is going into a small mixing board where it's mixing with the output from your audio and then being piped directly into the encoder, whereas the other output, which is the USB output, is going directly into the computer that's running the Zoom, and that's how you're hearing me. So that's the same setup I've done in the past in various places. So
Well, is it possible that the background noise was me and not
it's
you?
possible, but I spent money, and money has now been spent, and I don't think they let you return microphones, and it's not like I couldn't use another microphone. But anyway, discussions of microphones aside, as I said, I hope somebody enjoys it. I did a whole bunch of audio testing before the program, because this encoder not only can encode to RTMP, which is what you would send to YouTube, it can do RTSP, which I can play in a VLC player. So I essentially had my headphones in, and I was listening to myself on a 2-second delay to see how the audio was sounded, which I wasn't able to do before because the old recorder didn't support local streaming. It was hard-coded into YouTube. So,
But how can you listen to yourself 2 seconds later? That screws my speech patterns all up.
you practice, but again, I was trying to hear whether or not it sounded clear. And I have a few other ideas for improvements. I have another wire coming. But either way, I think it worked out nicely because the audio that I heard on the stream seemed to work. Now, there is a notice from YouTube that there may be some other problem with how I'm sending them the stuff, and I may have to tweak that. It says that my keyframe is, I'm using a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less, which is causing possible buffering. So I may have to tweak the settings, although the only setting here is please give us your RTSP stream data. So it may be that I have to go look at some forums. But either way, I'm here, and we have audio. So that's good. See how much I care about this program?
I am so impressed.
Yeah, in other news, the Techno Buffet logo continues to be updated.
And it's pretty.
Yeah, you saw the preview, and I am waiting for the person who did the logo to update the lettering for me and tell me how much I owe them for the privilege, which I will pay them as soon as they tell me. But so then we will have the backup logo, we'll have the choice, and I'll do some more redirecting. I think right now I just have a simple redirect. I may adjust it slightly. So beyond that, since we also talk about 3D printing, I can tell you that I am once again fiddling with the 3D printer.
Well, of course you are.
Well, it printed something, though.
Is that progress?
It got through an entire print before it fell out of alignment again. I really have to figure out why that keeps happening. Clearly, I'm
What do
missing
you mean by fell out of alignment?
Well, I switched the Z-stop, which prevents it from going down too far, for the automatic bed leveling sensor, the BL Touch, and now it occasionally hits the board, or hits the bed, excuse me.
Because the BL Touch doesn't deploy?
It does.
Or because it's off the bed?
Well, again, it seems to just be going down too far.
Right, but eventually it's going to run into the BL Touch, and the pin on the BL Touch is going to snap up, and it should stop.
No.
But if it's trying to, if it's going to home, then the BL Touch may be off the bed, so it'll never hit the bed.
Oh, it hits the bed all the time. But I do not know why it keeps doing that. But it seems to be a problem, and I think the problem is coming because of the alignment of the gantry, which is why I said that I was going to try to add the second axis screw to keep the other side from dipping down. Even though that's not necessarily going to solve all the problems, when it starts to go down, it goes down sometimes unevenly.
So I believe the Ender 3 has eccentric nuts.
What's an eccentric nut?
Okay, so on one side, or maybe on both sides, you've got these, you've got the plate that's got 4 wheels on it, right? That ride on that extrusion?
3.
3, okay. Well, one of them, if you turn it, it'll tighten it or loosen it. It'll move the wheel towards or away from the extrusion.
So you're saying
You should have gotten a tool when you got it, a real thin wrench-looking thing that you can use to adjust that. And basically, it's an off-center nut, is what it is, so that when you turn it, it moves the wheel around. So it'll move closer to or further away from and it'll tighten it up or loosen it.
so I shouldn't put on the extra axis? I thought that might help.
Maybe it'll help, but you may just have your
I might be.
wheels may just be loose.
Okay. I should just tighten everything, shouldn't I?
Well, there's got to be some sort of video on setting up and aligning and tuning an Ender 3. It is such a common printer, and I have seen Ender 3s make remarkable.
Yeah. I've been chalking this up over the last few weeks to me not knowing what I'm doing.
If it makes you feel any better, when I got my Tronxy, my first printer, it was a while before I got a decent print out of it. And at the end, I mean, it was an amazingly reliable and well-performing printer. But, you know, it takes time to figure the printer out, to get it dialed in, to where you can identify when problems start and know how to fix them. It's a learning process. But for an initial start, to be able to get the Ender 3 to print something reliably, there's probably just some simple step you're missing that you don't know you're missing. So I would look for some sort of YouTube video on setting up and tuning an Ender 3, specifically an Ender 3.
I think I need to find the tuning one because I've calibrated a bunch of things, but maybe there's a check this, and this thing I could find. But
Right, but most of the calibration stuff is all about software.
yeah, no, I'm talking.
It's not really about the hardware. And it sounds like you need to get the hardware straightened out.
Yeah, which is quite possible. But we'll see. Either way, I want to print 48 different things. No, literally, I want to print the same thing 48 times. But anyway, I want a set. So I will figure that out. But that's my story. So there is some news from the world of Android and Google. We do talk about that every so often, right?
We do, yes.
Yeah. So Google has announced the Play Media Experience program to incentivize developers to improve their cross-device experiences. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah. So the Play Experience program, essentially the idea is that developers are not pushing integration amongst many devices. So here are some things. Video will enable integration with Android TV, Google TV, and Google Cast for a living room first video programming offering. Will extend premium listening experiences between Cast devices, Android Auto, and Wear OS for better content discovery. And for books, will enable a better reading experience on large screen devices like tablets and the best foldables. So essentially, the whole idea is that they want to make it so that when you switch between devices, you have a better experience, which right now you don't always.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I'm hoping it'll make more apps available on Android Auto.
Yep. So, moving along. Windows 11 will be offering native Android app support.
Interesting.
But it will not be the Play Store, it will be the Amazon App Store.
That makes sense, since the Google Play Store is moving away from APKs.
So that doesn't mean you can't have native app support, you just need app bundles. That is another story that is on our list. The future of app bundles is here. So they're going to mandate that app bundles be the thing.
Yep. So no more APKs.
Yeah. And
It
again,
means that if you want to deploy on Amazon and on Google Play, you now have two different artifacts you need to build. Yay!
well, maybe the other platforms will support the Android app bundle.
I doubt Windows 11 will.
Clearly not in the short term, but you never know in the long term. The Google Play Store will require two-step verification and new identity requirements for developers. So essentially, to become a developer, you have to prove your identity a lot more than you used to, because again, they think that that will help with bad actors.
That could be. How about that?
And here's one I like. A Play Store update, or excuse me, Play Services update has brought a % progress meter during boot, so you know how close you are to actually booting.
Really?
I have not tried this.
That's crazy. But cool.
So I found some interesting apps. Somebody wrote an article about e-labels, which I thought was interesting. It's an app that actually allows you to edit your Gmail labels and filters on your phone, which is something that the Gmail for Android app does not let you do.
Interesting. I didn't realize you couldn't do that.
Have you ever tried to do it?
No, I haven't.
So if you want to do it, you can try this app. I'm much more likely to fiddle with things like that on my phone while sitting somewhere than I am on my computer setting up all my labels. Never know. So I decided that I would try the app. Now there were two articles, and I find these best blank apps for Android articles very interesting.
Yeah.
Because they always introduce me to a bunch of different alternatives that I might not have considered.
Right.
So this is from XDA developers who wrote up alternative camera apps. Not only did they mention that the best camera app may be, of course, the Google camera app or a port of it to another phone if you don't have a Google device. There's Open Camera, which I've used, and that is essentially a free and simple camera app. There is Candy Camera, which I've never tried. Redica, Footage Camera 2. So this is an article with all of them. Simple Camera. I just like the names. Camera FV5, and it has a light and a full version, and Silent Camera.
I wonder what makes Silent Camera unique.
It doesn't make a shutter sound.
That's crazy.
Yeah, apparently it has some other features. Procram X, so Bacon Camera.
That's an awesome name.
Yeah. And Bacon Camera doesn't have Camera 2 API support. Now the thing is that there's one feature that I've always wanted that Google Camera does not give me.
What's that?
I want the ability to programmatically embed my copyright information inside pictures that I take on my phone.
Oh, you want to be able to set like custom EXIF data?
Why not? You can do that in a third-party app, but you can't do that in the Google Camera app. I want my file to say, since I often do something with my picture, I want it to just have my name inside it somewhere.
Interesting.
Well, remember, if I don't want to share that with somebody, I can strip that later, but I want the file to save that way to begin with. That's my goal. So they also wrote up the best Wear OS apps. So in their opinion, the best Wear OS apps include a bunch of ones that I'm surprised about. And Messages. That doesn't surprise me that Messages would be something you might want on your watch.
Sure. Yep.
Calculator. Because of course you need one of those.
Because nothing says nerd like a calculator watch.
Camera remote, and this is one that I like.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, admittedly, I don't have the one that they're recommending, which is camera remote. I just have the stock Google one where you can press a button and trigger your camera.
That's
more like a shutter button.
Still, that's extremely useful.
Yeah, I remember that there were several times that I put my phone onto like a little tripod and wanted to take a group photo. Not recently, but like a year or two ago. Actually, I know exactly when it was. December 2019. It's been a while since I needed to take a group photo. But again, this seems to have additional features. So it offers, again, a viewfinder to an extended degree and additional features. But apparently this is an optional app. But again, they've commented they wonder why a camera remote is not part of Wear OS by default. Which it probably should be. Or at least a shutter app. They also,
It is a non-obvious use of the watch.
I thought it was an obvious use of the watch.
Oh, well, it's obvious once you say it,
Yeah.
but
Now,
it's not beforehand.
they also cite Google Keep, Todoist, Outlook, that all have very good Wear OS support. Telegram, apparently. Google Translate. Now, that's an interesting one. Google Translate on your watch.
You can use it Dick Tracy style.
Well, I'm just imagining holding out my arm to somebody and asking them to speak into my watch.
Hmm.
I think that might be weird for some people. Apparently they liked IFTTT, Google Maps, which has a really good watch interface because I remember I've navigated while walking with Google Maps. There's a voice recorder if, again, your watch is thus equipped. And of course, various watch customization apps, which I don't really count because if the sole purpose for me to install an app on my watch is to customize my watch, then why do I have my watch?
So you can customize it.
Yeah.
And you forgot my favorite game,
What game is that?
the 2048.
Would you?
I love that game.
Would you play that on a watch?
I don't know. It might give me, kill some time.
Okay. So moving beyond that, Google Pay will soon add the ability to store your vaccination card.
Ugh.
Well, the same way that they allow you to store your transit pass. Why not? People want to, regardless of,
Because we should not be publicly volunteering private medical information. It should not be a requirement for participation in society when you expose your private medical information to the world or to anybody who is not your doctor.
I'm only
That's
talking
why not.
about international travel. That's the only one that currently has a legal restriction. So, admittedly, I don't think I'm necessarily going to load my vaccination card into Google Pay. I don't really see a purpose in that. But I would like an easier way if other countries are going to require that I show them proof of vaccination. I would like an easy way to share that with them.
They can bite me if they want to see proof of my vaccination.
Okay, then, well, to be honest, I'm not traveling internationally right now, so it's not an issue for me. But I talk to people who want to go places. A friend of mine just said that he wanted to take a trip in November to Israel, which has a really strict pandemic policy. He asked me if I wanted to come along. I'm trying to decide if I feel like flying internationally by November. There are plenty of nice places to see in the United States. Maybe I should start small. I could visit Sheboygan. Have you ever been to Sheboygan?
If I have, I didn't know at the time.
Okay. Never been there. I don't know what there is to see in Sheboygan, but I just like the name Sheboygan. It sounds nice. Either way, I am not
It
necessarily...
does sound interesting.
Yeah. I am not necessarily in favor of storing my vaccination card in Google Pay, but I am looking for a better solution than my current solution. It involves a photocopier and a laminator. But they give you this big, gigantic card and it doesn't fit in your wallet, so I tried to scale it down. So far, I've never actually needed my vaccination card for anything. But you never know.
Good. You shouldn't need it for anything, except for going to see a doctor. You shouldn't need it to go watch a football game or go to a different state or, oh, God.
By the way, I agree with you on several of those matters. It's the international thing where I'm practical about it. There has to be some way to avoid spread of contagion over borders.
And let's be clear, I'm not against the vaccine, although I have serious concerns about the way the mRNA is.
That there's nothing illegitimate about being concerned. But there's also other issues. I'm concerned about many things that I still end up doing. I'm concerned every time I cross the street. Not comparing pandemics to street crossings. I'm just saying that you should be critical of anything in your life in an appropriate way. You should not just blindly accept everything. But
I'm just going to woosah.
yeah. How about this? Google Photos prepares to add a Memories home screen widget.
cool. I like the memories things. I like those.
Yeah, I reproduced that myself. I was reading this Ars Technica article where they're talking about alternatives to Google Photos that you can self-host. One of these days I might try that. The only thing, I am not tied to Google Photos. The only thing I like is having a digital photo frame. So I like the fact, the Google Smart Displays, I don't use them for very much, but they make really good photo frames. If they had the ability to pull from an alternative source, then I would be off of Google Photos right now. In fact, I'm technically off of it. I just copy my photos there. So I've copied the entire archive of photos there so that it would show on the photo frame. And I do most of my photo management elsewhere. But I have reproduced the This Day in Personal History. The only problem is in 2013 and 2014, I bulk scanned old family photos, so they're all tagged with that date. Namely, the date they were scanned. So a picture from 50 years ago is shown as on this day in July of 2014.
Well, sure, and it's gonna be because you can't tell.
Well, no. What I'm saying is, one day I probably would not be able to identify the day the photo was taken. Probably could get the year. So one of these days I have to, but these are thousands of photos that I've digitized. My father in the 70s liked to take slides. I found his slides and had them shipped off to a place to be scanned because nobody had looked at them in 30 years. So I have a lot of old photos. And I thought when my parents retired some years ago that they might actually look at them and maybe catalog them, but no. I thought that would be a good retirement project for them, but they haven't gotten to it. And I can't identify some of these people. Oh well. Project for another day. So Chrome is preparing to add an optional HTTPS only mode.
Interesting. I'm sure it'll be opt-in for a while, and then it'll be opt-out.
Does that surprise you?
No.
Everybody's trying to move to HTTPS.
Yep.
And I think Let's Encrypt remove the barrier of cost for smaller groups, so it's not as much of an issue.
They removed a lot of barriers, not just cost, but also setting up a certificate used to require some knowledge and some skill.
Yeah.
And Let's Encrypt greatly reduced that.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the fact that there's not a financial barrier or a technical barrier to entry. It's real, you mentioned the technical barrier, but people used to say, why should I spend money or time on this? I'm not a commercial website. But now it's very easy for any website to have it. If you are a Lenovo user, apparently they are offering a wireless charger for laptops coming soon.
Wow. And it works on anything that charges via USB-C.
Well, again, it's an adapter, so it's not built in. So again, it's a charging plate, so you can plug it into anything that has the right voltage and wattage.
That's kind of cool.
Well, I'm not sure if I mentioned it. I actually got a USB-C to barrel connector adapter for my laptop.
What's that?
You know what a barrel connector is, right?
It's a round connector.
Yeah, and a lot of laptops use them. So I found this company that makes these adapter cables so that you could actually charge things with a barrel connector using a USB-C charger. They also do.
And why did you do that?
So I could use a dual USB-C charger to charge my phone and my computer at the same time.
So you don't need a power brick, you just need a
USB-C a USB-C PD.
And that gives you enough amperage and the right voltage? Interesting.
Well, again, not for every laptop, but they had, for not only ones with certain barrel connectors and power requirements, but they had some of the proprietary connectors also. I like choice. This means I might have, if I get a dual USB charger, USB-C charger that has enough wattage, and the ones that are designed to power things like MacBooks do, I need 45 watts for the computer, and I need a lot less. I need only probably about 10 watts for the phone. So I can get myself a 65 watt dual USB-C PD charger and charge both at the same time.
Cool.
I figured it was worth a shot. It was like a $10 cable. But anyway, TCL is offering a pair of glasses that will act as a portable external monitor.
Really?
I like TCL. My television is TCL. I have a Roku TV that I bought. I was once in the TCL theater, so I'm a fan of theirs. But they have the TCL Nextwear G, a portable external monitor that apparently is ready to come to market. It uses two 1080p OLED panels to simulate a 180-inch display with a 16:9 aspect ratio. It has integrated stereo speakers. So essentially, 3D is dead. People are not taking advantage of 3D, although in theory probably something like this could do it. But the idea is that you hook this up to an external device, any device that supports USB-C video out. So that can be a phone, that could be a computer, and you could essentially watch whatever you want. I'm just wondering how much they're going to charge for this thing. There's no word on pricing.
My question is, how does it work for old people?
How do I answer that question?
Well, okay, so as you get older, your eyes lose the ability to focus on things that are really close. And this puts the pixels really close to your eyes. So unless you're young, very young, you probably won't be able to focus on the screens. So how does that work?
I'm not sure. So, again, I'll wait to see what people say about it. But again, there's possibilities.
It says it supports 3D and 4K playback.
Yeah, I'm just saying 3D by itself.
4K on 1080p screens. Sure.
It supports the playback. That doesn't mean it doesn't downscale it. But again, it's an interesting idea for a market where not everybody wants to watch video on a 5-inch phone screen. Just being realistic. And so you're going somewhere, you want a better experience than a 5-inch phone screen. This might be an option depending on how much they're charging for it. So let me ask you, what would be the price point that would make this worth it for you? I know you like pixels.
I do. I would want more pixels, at least 4K.
Well, again, this is the first product. If it's successful,
sure.
You know they're going to up-res it. I'm just asking, what would make this an impulse buy for you, price-wise?
$500, and I'd buy it.
Okay. You think it's going to be 500 or less?
But 500 when it's 4K.
Okay.
I don't think, regardless of the price, I don't think I'd buy it at 1080p.
I'm just curious to see what they can do because they really got the price of televisions down. TCL and some of the other companies that were trying to disrupt that market.
Although I find it amusing that the compatibility list includes a bunch of phones.
Yeah.
How does that work? Is it Bluetooth?
USB-C. So anything.
That's crazy.
Anything that supports USB-C direct video output. So the USB-C powers the phone and would essentially do it. So if you look on their list, let's see, do they have your phone on there?
They don't have any of the Google Pixels on there.
That's disappointing. Oh well.
Interestingly, they don't have my laptop either.
Well, again, a compatibility list doesn't necessarily cover everything. It covers things they tested.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but all they're saying is it has to support USB-C video out. So if your device supports that, this should work. Lenovo, those people who had a smart clock, they're offering another smart clock, and this one will have a wireless charging attachment. I like they had two Lenovo smart clocks. The original one I like better. So they had a new one, which is I think it was the Clock Essential or something. The original I bought when it was on, let's say, deep discount. And I do keep that as a bedside clock. Not only does it have an assistant in it and no camera, but you can set the clock face to show your photos. And as I said, I like using smart displays as photo frames.
So where does it charge?
Well, the new one has a wireless charging attachment where essentially you would hook it in and then there would be a wireless charger next to it. It's not for charging the smart clock, it's for charging your device next to the smart clock.
Whoa, that's silly.
Well, if the clock is on your bedside table and this is plugged in and then you have a charger attached to the clock, you can put your smartwatch or your earbuds on it.
Yeah, but then if it's going to be beside it, you might as well have a wireless charging there anyway that's not connected, so you can move it around if needed.
Yeah, well, that's why it's an optional attachment.
Yeah.
According to one commenter, Google Contacts is starting to look like the old Google Plus profiles.
Really?
Yeah. Well, look at the picture.
My contacts don't look like that.
Are you using Workspace or using Gmail?
Gmail.
Yeah, this is for people who are in the working version. So
Oh, well, cool.
it may eventually come to other people, but they think that this is again. Look at what Teams is doing in the corporate space. Google tends, in my observation, tends to get 1% of the market. Microsoft gets another percentage of the business market, and I think they're competing with each other on the integrated business experience because you want your not only do you want people to be using your mail, you want people to be using your messaging platform, your video chat platform, etc. So all these companies are trying to create this experience that you want to be inside. Zoom will offer a progressive web app for a better Chromebook experience, which is good.
Okay.
Well, remember, one of the computers that I've used for Zoom, depending on where I happen to be, has been an old Chromebook to take the Zoom and merge it into the feed. So why not? Either way, I just acquired a refurbished Lenovo Chromebook Duo. Duet is the one. So the Duet is the one that doubles as a Chrome OS tablet. eBay was having a 15% off sale. I figured, why not? So that just arrived today, so at some point I'll have something to say about it. A new report claims that half the planet owns a smartphone.
Really?
Yeah. According to Strategy Analytics, which claims 50% of humans on Earth have a personal smartphone.
Cool.
Okay, I'm not sure how accurate their poll is, but they are saying that smartphones are cheap. Remember, in some countries, for various reasons, they are essentially pennies. And in many cases, they're the only electronics that some people have. They don't have a lot of people in various countries don't have a computer. Everything is their phone. If you own a Nest device, Google is committed to Nest device updates for 5 years. Oh, excuse me, at least 5 years. And that's from the time that they were released, not the day you purchased it.
Interesting.
Well, again, it's back to they can't really commit to giving you updates for 5 years from when you purchased it. They can only commit to giving it for 5 years from when they officially released it.
No, they could give it updates for 5 years after they stop selling it.
No, I didn't say they couldn't. I'm saying that they couldn't do it from the day you purchased it. That would mean that the security expiration date would be different for everybody. You need to at least say it's going to be one date for everybody. Otherwise, it's completely impractical. So it's either the date that they started manufacturing it, or the date that they stopped supporting it,
Or the date that they stop selling it.
Yeah.
That could be.
Yeah. When they discontinue the product, they commit to doing it for a certain number of years after that. Would also be nice. But they are saying they're going to do it for at least 5 years. I don't know. After 5 years, there are certain devices I probably do want to replace. And I would imagine that if Not every Nest device, but some of them, yes. T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T, the three big cell phone providers, no more Sprint, have implemented the FCC's anti-spoofing protocol, which I always mess up the name of.
Stirred, shaken?
Well, I always do it the other way around. I always call it shake and stir, so I had to look at the article to make sure I wasn't inverting it again.
Ah.
So this is, again, the thing that prevents impersonation. So it prevents you from spoofing the number on your caller ID effectively.
I have noticed significantly fewer calls from my times or my area code and my prefix.
Which is good, isn't it?
Yeah, because those are almost always spam calls.
Yeah. That's where I hit the the Google screening button on the phone. My favorite lately is I'm calling from your warranty center. That's my favorite scam right now. Anyway.
I don't think I've ever got that one.
That's where they tell you that they're going to offer you a warranty, that your warranty on your car is expiring and you could pay for a new one with them.
Oh, I've got the car warranty thing. Yeah.
That's the one. I don't know if that actually works on people. Must if they keep calling. But, finally, Google Chat now supports custom statuses on the web. So now Google Chat is continuing its replacement of Hangouts. And some of because they are actually putting attention into chat, there are some features of it I like, even though I didn't dislike Hangouts. One of them being that the integration into Gmail is much better if you're using it inside Gmail, which I'm not very often, but sometimes yes. But now, the status, which is now integrated at the top of Gmail, if you've turned on Google Chat integration, you can now set a custom status instead of they're available or busy. So you can.
Yay! So you can put whatever text you want there.
Yeah, except it doesn't work or is seen on the mobile app yet. I assume that will come eventually.
That's funny.
Well, you have to start somewhere. But either way, I'm just waiting because I am a longtime Pigeon user. You're familiar with Pigeon, right?
Yes, it is a multi-chat protocol chat app thing.
Yeah, the person who maintains the Hangouts plugin for Pigeon is working on a Google. Even though the Hangouts plugin does work for Google Chat, the developer is working on one that uses the Chat API. I've been following the GitHub progress. I like unified clients. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't feel anything.
Well, I don't like having 50 things. My choices are only be on one chat platform and then miss out on the people who want to be on other ones, or bridge the experience so that I'm on one platform and my platform connects to all the other platforms.
Okay, cool. I'm glad it works for you.
Well, that's the thing. It's an arms race because all these platforms do not make their APIs necessarily consistent. So I rely on the kindness of developers to figure out how to reverse engineer APIs so that there can be one single platform. Anyway, you got a dream, right?
Yes, you do.
That's my dream. One platform, regardless of where everybody is in reality. Interoperability so that I don't have to be on 5 different apps. I'll get there.
I'm sure you will.
Someday I'll be living the dream. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this week. Monday is Independence Day in the United States.
Woo!
So happy Independence Day to you, Jerry.
Thank you.
And anybody else who celebrates it. And if you're British, sorry.
Why?
Well, they were the ones that we won independence from, so I'm sorry it didn't work out. I'm glad that we can still be friends despite our breakup. Isn't that what you're supposed to say?
Something like that.
I don't want to be in a relationship with you, but I'm glad we can still be friends. Clearly, I'm not good at this, or I wouldn't be the admittedly single one in this particular hosting group. But anyway, jokes aside, this is traditionally the day that I, in honor of the holiday, that I watch a classic American movie.
A classic American movie, you say?
Yes, 1776, which is a musical about the signing of the Declaration of Independence.
I don't know that one.
Well, it was a Broadway show, and in '76 for the centennial, they did do a movie, and the star of the movie playing John Adams was William Daniels. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He's an actor.
Possibly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In later years, he was famous for playing the teacher on Boy Meets World. Before that, he was a doctor on St. Elsewhere. He did a bunch of things over the years. But
Sounds like before my time.
okay. Well, 1976 was before my time.
1776 is way before my time.
Yeah. But I happen, again, I do rotate. I also watch Groundhog Day on Groundhog Day and a few other things. But I like to watch at least one America-themed movie on Independence Day if I can. Or around it. Sometimes
Good.
before. I also hear there's fireworks and ice cream down the street. Who can say no to fireworks and ice cream?
We don't want fireworks and more ice cream.
No, they're separate. There are fireworks and there are ice cream, and they are not together. I also hear there's a magician. They have some extra budgeting from last year when they did not have a celebration. So apparently they're coming back with a vengeance. Anyway, hopefully the stream worked out. It says there's some sort of issue with the buffering for YouTube, but I will go find some instructions, because if I'm having buffering problems, I'm sure there's a forum somewhere that explains how to tweak the settings. But hopefully next week there will be somebody listening live who can tell me how horrible or how wonderful I've made things. At least that's my goal. So until next week, Jerry, that will be July 8th. Will you be available?
I suspect so.
Okay. And I will look forward to whatever we end up talking about. Maybe the printer will be recalibrated. Maybe it won't be. Maybe I'll install the dual axis upgrade kit. Maybe I won't. I'm trying to build suspense here. Maybe I'll print a whole bunch of little objects. Maybe the printer will explode again. By the way, that's the filament, not an actual explosion. That's when the gear popped off. But now I have a supply of spare gears, so I'm prepared for anything. I hope. Although I still haven't figured out where that screw that fell off came from. That's probably a problem. Shall we call it a night?
Let's call it a night.
Okay, I had fun.
There's lots of good news today.
Yes. I'm happy when there's stuff to talk about. Some weeks it's just slim pickings.
Yep.
So until next week, everybody, and happy 4th of July.
Yay! Bye, folks.
Recording stopped.